Welcome everybody, and welcome to Back to Basics, Common Sense Law with yours truly, Preet Gill. You've hired your attorney, you've paid them a lot of money, right? And they're working on your case. But do you actually have the right attorney for you? Are they doing the best job? And what are you doing to make the attorney like you or hate you, right? There are all these things to talk about, and our last episode, we dove into some really important topics such as how to find the right lawyer, right? Make sure that they're actually experienced in the area of law that you need them in, right? So whenever clients come to me and they say, look, you did our immigration case so beautifully, now we want you to file for bankruptcy, I just stare at them and I say, you want to go to jail? Because I won't know anything, and then we're going to mess things up, and then before you know it, the judge is going to be yelling at us, right? So the problem is, even though that you may hear things, oh, this is a fantastic attorney, it may not be the right attorney for you. So experience is really important. And the second thing that we discuss is the retainer agreement, right? A lot of times when clients come to me, they say, you know, I didn't know how much the attorney was going to charge me, or, you know, he kept charging me and I didn't know. But you know why? It's because you did not have a clear understanding with your lawyer as to what kind of services they're going to provide for you and how much you're supposed to pay. Because sometimes cases go on forever. They can go on appeals. So now, does your agreement actually say that this fees was going to include the appeal? I don't know. That's why I love retainer agreements, because if there's always an issue, you go back and you say, okay, what was I hired to do and how much did I charge my client? And now this agreement is going to refresh my memory. So that's really important. So now from our last episode, we continue to discuss some of these things. And now for today's episode, I want to talk about what can you do, right? Because let's be realistic. Sometimes it's not the lawyer, right? Sometimes it's you. And listen, we all do it. I do it to my doctor, right? Anyone will do it to anyone else. So sometimes you have to take a step back and say, why is this not working out? Why is this relationship not working out with my lawyer? And if you look at all the things that you may do, you may realize, oh my God, it may just be me and I'm messing things up. So today we're gonna look into what you can do to maximize your time with the lawyer. So don't go anywhere, and I will see you guys right after the break. Okay, and then we can quickly go into the discussion. It's you. Welcome back. How can you maximize your time with your attorney, right? And what if, even if you have a great attorney, issues arise? How do you handle them, right? So without wasting any time, I actually want to dive into our panel discussion, and I want to welcome Margaret Carucci and David Cohen. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show again, and you must really love me, right?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, can you guys just quickly introduce yourselves to the audience?
My name is Margaret Carucci. I am the principal court attorney to Supreme Court Justice Frederick D.R. Sampson in Queens Supreme Court.
And my name is David Cohen. I maintain a private criminal defense practice in Queens County, and I also serve on the Grievance Committee in the 2nd, 11th, and 13th Judicial Districts.
Now, what is the Grievance Committee?
Well, the legal profession is self-regulated, and that means that the court system runs a group of grievance committees throughout the state which hear complaints by clients against lawyers. And the grievance committee decides whether or not the matter is serious enough to go before the courts for a suspension or a disbarment proceeding, and then deals with the other types of matters by handing out admonitions or letters of caution or advising lawyers what they can do better to avoid these types of situations in the future.
Okay, so that's always good to know, and actually we'll go back to that because I think that's really important and people should know where to go if there's an issue. But guys, what happens, you know, even in the best of circumstances, you've done your best. You've checked out the best attorney, they had the retainer agreement, everything that we discussed, all the checklists, but things can still go wrong, right? So what if you have issues with your attorney? What is some of your advice on how we can resolve these issues?
Well, I mean, the issues can be of many different types. Obviously, one of the main issues is money.
Right.
Clients complain they're paying too much. You didn't do what you were supposed to do, and that's something that again, goes back to the retainer agreement. Hopefully, the client has received a written retainer agreement, and it sets forth in black and white exactly what the attorney is supposed to do and what the client is supposed to pay. If there's not a retainer agreement, it's more problematic. It's more problematic for the attorney because the attorney cannot collect a fee if there's not a written retainer agreement.
Right.
But you can go to your local bar association and file for a fee dispute. The grievance committees do not deal with fee disputes. That's left to the local bar associations. And there's a process through the courts that you can go for arbitration or mediation with respect to fee disputes. And that should be set forth in your retainer agreement, except in a criminal case. There's no fee arbitration in criminal cases. I don't know why, but that's the way the program is set up.
Right.
The other problem is many times clients don't like the news that the lawyer is delivering. I mean,
Right.
the lawyer may say, listen, you're going to be found guilty. They have overwhelming evidence. Or you can't stay in the United States because of X, Y, and Z. Or you're going to have to pay the person who's suing you, the $50,000 they're asking for. And many times I will get calls, I don't like my lawyer. Well, what's the problem with your lawyer? Well, he told me I have to go to jail for 5 years. Well, what's your case about? And who did he speak to, and what did he do? And you find out that the lawyer did everything that he or she was supposed to do, and you just don't like the result. That's not the lawyer's fault. So, you have to realize that a lawyer can only do what a lawyer can do, and is not a miracle worker.
And Ms. Carucci, what about if a lawyer makes a mistake, or if the client makes a mistake, right? Like you tell the client you shouldn't have done, don't do this, and they do it. How do you resolve mistakes?
Well, I think that an important point is that when you speak to your lawyer, it's a confidential relationship, and you should be as forthcoming as possible. The lawyer can't help you if you don't divulge all the pertinent information. So that would be first off, so that a client can't make a mistake if they're honest with their attorney.
Right.
And then if a lawyer makes a mistake, there's always ways to correct those mistakes within the court process. The attorney can make a motion. The attorney can, go to the court and ask to have that mistake corrected.
Right.
And you would hope that your lawyer wouldn't charge you
Right, for the mistake that they've made.
for the mistake that they made to correct it.
Right.
Right.
And actually you touched on a really good topic. You said honesty. Tell your attorney everything, which I think goes into what the clients can do to maximize their time as well. But going into private practice, now let's turn it around. Like going into private practice, right? When you were, what area of law did you work?
I was in private practice. I did mostly real estate.
Okay, so from real estate, what was the one thing that one of your clients would do that would sort of make you go, like you didn't, I don't know, what is it? What was one of your pet peeves?
Well, my clients would call me all hours of the day and night and
Right.
email me. Mm-hmm. My clients in that area, I represented a lot of real estate investors, and they were extremely demanding.
Right.
And a lot of times your clients may want you to do something that is not ethical,
Right.
that you cannot do. And your client may think that you're just refusing, but no lawyer is going to risk their law license that costs
Right.
them tons of money and years of their life to get, so that their clients can do something that their attorney knows they should not be doing.
You touched on a really good point. We use WhatsApp a lot in my community because it's an easy way to communicate, whether you're internationally or stuff. But on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock, my phone will ring, and I look down and I'm like, what's the emergency? I'm about to go to sleep. I go to bed really early, right? And I see that there's a missed call from my client, and I know that there's no emergencies, nothing's going on. Then at 10:20, there's another call. Then there is another call at 1 o'clock. Then you finally say, okay, you pick up the phone, and the first thing I say is, who's dying, right? And they're like, no, I just wanted to check the status of my case.
Right.
And and I say this to my clients as well. Look, you have to let the attorney live their life as well. There's boundaries. Would you call or text your doctor at midnight unless there was a life-threatening issue or you had a serious question that really concerned you? No, you know, that's the only time you would do it. So why would you treat your attorney any differently? Like, this is a person who also has a job, right? They're working, even though we work a lot more hours than we should sometimes, right? You know, on a weekend, there are times when it is inappropriate to talk to your, you know, to call your attorney. And if I didn't pick up the first time, I'm probably not going to pick up 30 seconds later. And this is just something that I want to add, because if most of my really the best clients, they'll call me once, they'll leave me a voicemail, and I follow your rule, Mr. Cohen. Actually, in my retainer agreement, I specifically state, if you're going to call us or email us, we try to get back to you literally the same day, right, or within an hour. But sometimes I could be dealing with somebody else's emergency, right? So please give us 24. I always say 1 business day, because, you know, if you call me on a Friday, I'm probably going to call you on a Monday. So at least, and I think, if you guys would agree with me, that 1 business day should be appropriate. If you called your lawyer or you left them an email, give them 1 business day to call you or respond back, unless it's an emergency. And if it's an emergency, say, hey, it's an emergency, and they will get back to you, right?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen, what about you? What are some of the other things that attorneys, that clients may do that kind of, sort of, not mess up their relationship, but you can start seeing that things are going to fall apart here and they're not maximizing their time with you?
Well, one of the things is they don't listen. They come in and they think they know what they want to hear, and so they'll ask you a question, or you start discussing their case with them, and they just are not paying any attention to you, and 5 minutes later they'll go right back to where they were and start and have not absorbed anything that you've said.
Right.
Or the worst thing they can do is, well, I went on the internet and,
Yes,
and
that's a good one.
I've done my research, and I said, well, A, why are you here then, if
Right.
you've done your research? And B, it's all wrong.
Right.
I mean, I don't know where you went, I don't know what you're looking at, but if you want to go on the internet, then leave. I mean, I'm not going to compete with you. I know what I know, and you're here for a reason. You know, you've been recommended to me because I do this kind of work and I have experience. You may not like me, and that's fine. You may not like that I may be a little brusque and blunt and tell you the truth, that, you know, but still, you have to pay attention to what your lawyers tell, and you have to listen to what your lawyers tell you.
You're paying them money, right? This is the reason why.
You're paying
And
me.
yeah.
I mean, you know, and I don't have, I mean, in my practice, I get a lot of late night phone calls from
Right.
people. And most of them are emergencies,
Right.
you know, and so, you know, my wife has gotten used to that. You know, all of a sudden, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I used to have a dedicated phone line in my house before cell phones. Now, you know, now it's the cell phone. And, you know, the phone rings, and I used to, you know, leave the house at 1 o'clock in the morning and go take care of you know, someone who just got arrested, and but that happens. But still, you know, call me once.
Right.
You know, if I'm not answering the first time, I'm not going to answer the 7th time, and I'm more likely not to answer the 7th time because now I'm mad that you called 7 times.
Right. This is true.
But yeah, you have to really let your lawyer be the lawyer. You're the client, and we know if you don't think your lawyer is giving you the right information and the right advice, then it's time to get another lawyer.
Right.
Right, that was something I wanted to bring up as well, is that once you've retained an attorney, at any point, you can fire your attorney
Right.
and get a new one if you're not happy with them.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're not stuck with your attorney.
Yeah, I put that. I said you could fire me via email, phone call, text message, carrier pigeon. It doesn't matter. I get the point. You know, I mean, the attorney may be owed some money, but that's a different situation. Quickly, guys, what are your thoughts about maybe accountants or non-attorneys? Right, it could be paralegals, notaries, somebody who is preparing paperwork in immigration or matrimonial cases. What are your thoughts about that?
The problem, and again, I see this a lot in the grievance committee, in the immigrant community, it's not uncommon to go to those types of people for a myriad of reasons. One of them is money.
Right.
You know, they feel that if I go to the local accountant, maybe he can do my immigration case. He's only going to charge me $200, but I heard the immigration lawyer is going to charge me $3,000. It's a disaster.
Right.
That person does not know what they're doing. They're going to say or do anything that they can because their only goal is to get money out of your pocket. They can't represent you properly because they're not licensed. They can't go into immigration court or criminal court or matrimonial court or civil court because they're not lawyers. So they really can't do what you need them to do. So it's imperative that you go to a lawyer and listen, you know, it's not a bazaar. It's not a store. You know, you don't go into your doctor's office and bargain with your lawyer over the with your doctor over the fee. Your lawyer is going to charge you a fee. He or she has to make a living.
Right.
They got to pay for their phone calls. They got to pay for their assistant. They got to pay for stationery. They got to pay for office space. I mean, it's a business.
And pay for the liability insurance,
and
which is huge.
And what we sell, the only thing we have to sell is our time.
Right.
And so you have to understand that. But it's very unfortunate. And again, on the grievance committee, one of the largest number of complaints that we get is in immigration because the people are desperate.
Right.
And it's very easy for them to be preyed upon by someone in the local community who maybe speaks their language or knows a friend. And you know, it's amazing how many people are taken advantage of by unlicensed and unscrupulous
Right.
notaries in their community.
And if they mess up, you can't, what can you do?
Well, that's really the thing, is that once you go to court and you evoke the court's help, a lot of times I see people, they come in and they're self-represented. They have an agent of some sort that's helping them. They're submitting papers to the court. But now the judge is going to write a decision based on those papers.
Right.
And that decision could be binding upon you. And
Right.
now it's going to cost you twice as much money to get it fixed.
Right. Guys, thank you so much. I think this was very helpful, and I think we didn't even touch on a whole broad range of things, but this is an ongoing conversation, and I would love to have you guys back on at a different time, and we can dive into maybe more specific cases. Thank you so much for coming. I truly
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
don't go anywhere. I'm going to see you guys right after the break. Welcome back. I hope you guys learned a lot from this, right? And I just want to go back and just talk about a couple of things that we discussed. If the relationship between you and your attorney is not going as planned, communicate, right? Talk to your lawyer and say, look, this is my concern, and maybe you can resolve it. But then there are times when maybe the attorney's actions are so wrong or that there's no way to resolve it, that there are ways that you can fix this, right? There are fee disputes, there's a grievance committee. Lawyers are governed by, we're self-governing. That means that there are grievance committees which look to see what the lawyer's conduct is, and if you make a complaint, they will investigate, right? They'll look into what the attorney did. Did they actually make a mistake? And they can maybe tell the attorney, please don't do it again, write them a letter, or the attorney could be disbarred or suspended. So there's many different areas that can protect you. But I want to take away from this show is what you can also do to maximize your time. I'm not trying to make somebody feel bad, okay? I'm not scolding anybody, but these are things that you've heard from 3 separate lawyers, 1 working in the court system, 2 in private areas. So I think it's really important for you to learn. Number 1, please be honest with your lawyer. Tell them everything that they need to know, right? Give the lawyer some breathing room. Calling them 6 or 7 times unless it's an emergency is not going to make them call you faster. 3rd, please make an appointment to see this attorney, right? Even though we may be in our office all day, we're working on somebody's case. How would you feel if we are working on your case and all of a sudden we're being disrupted by clients who keep walking in without an appointment, right? Come on time. I cannot emphasize this. If you have a 10 o'clock appointment, please show up at 10 o'clock because again, there are other clients that are waiting. There are other things. There are court appearances. So in order for us to do our job, please help us do our job. I hope that really helped. If you have any further questions, you can always give us a call. I will see you guys next week.